Everybody is talking about AI agents, but what really happens behind the scene? Let's break it down today. I will try my best to simplify things, and I hope it will be easy for everybody to understand. So let's get started. So first, let's define a problem, and then we'll use that problem as an example, and then break everything down. So let's define the problem first. All right. So let's say the problem is that we have an app that lets user book flights, search for flights and book flights using AI agent. Right. So let's do that. So a user can come and just say, I want to go to Japan in the first week of April. Please book a ticket for me, right? Simple enough, right? Now, to solve this problem and to, basically, help user book a flight, let's break down what a traditional app will do, not a AI agent. So a traditional app, how a traditional app will basically work. Now let me create a section here. So I'll just create a section here. And this is our normal app, right? And what it will do. Firstly and foremost, it will ask you to, you know, let's change its color, right? Firstly and foremost, it will ask you to enter your, enter the location you want to go. So enter the location, right? And then it will ask for, let's say, the dates, right? And then it will make an API hit, right? Most probably. So if I just put it here and let's say make it this, and this will be the backend, and there will be an API head to, there will be a endpoint called search flights, right? And right, and then this will basically both of these will go to the search flights, and then search flight will return like a response which will be the list of flights, right? So let's say, let's put it here, and that will be a list of flights, right? So list of flights, and then you'll choose one of the flights, and then it will go and make another API hit which will be slash book flight, right? Now user have to do a lot of work in this. They have to go ahead and first select the drop down, and then select the dates, and select and then you'll see, show them a list of search flight, like the list of flights, and then they from that they will book the flight. But how an AI agent will work, let's define that. So um right, so this is the normal app, but this is our agent tech AI app. All right, so the way all of this will work in this is something like this. So firstly foremost, we'll have our agent here. Behind an API or anything, you can work out anything basically. So our agent, and we'll send this request to the agent, right? Through an API or whatever, right? It really doesn't matter. Just need to send the request to the agent. Now that agent have to understand the the problem, the text or the natural language, right? And for that, the agent will use any kind of natural language processor, but mostly what agents use is an LLM. All right. And LLMs are basically the brain of our agent. All right. And what are LLMs? The full form of LLM is large language model, and they are basically very good at generating text, understanding like natural language, and then generating natural language, right? So any generative AI app or service you see out there, for example, ChatGPT, Claude, Meta, anything, use LLMs under the right. So that's what our agent do as well. All right. So now agent will send our natural language text to the LLM, and the LLM will understand the request. So, for example, it knows that we have example here. It understand that the location, right? It understand the let's change. I think it's not looking good. So, and let's change the and it will also understand the the dates, right? So it understand that we have to that I have to go to Japan on the first week of the April, right? And also book the dates, right? So it's also know that we have to book the um the tickets, right? So that as well. Now LLM will send all of this information to our agent. So it will send that back to our agent, right? And now agent need to do some actions. Now you remember these APIs, right? Like search flights and book flight, all that. We also need the same thing in the, agent apps as well. And here we just change their name to something called tools. All right. So now there are multiple tools. For example, let's create a small section here, right? And we'll call it tools. And basically, these tools are essentially the same thing. Change its color to blue. Not blue. Blue is not looking good. Let's do it this. So, and so it will be a search flight tool, or it will be a book flight tool. All right. And they will essentially do the same thing, right? So they will take the location, right? They will take the dates, and they will output a list of flights. So for example, in case of search flight, right, let's define a section here and let's understand it. So in case of search flight, it will take a location, right? It will take a date. So this will be like the parameters, right? The just like you will pass to a API, right? Parameters, and it will return the list of flights. And when you're building agentic application, you have whenever you are defining this tool, you have to basically specify the either the type definition or a description of what the tool need, and what it will return, so our agent can basically know that. So our agent knows when to call these tools, and also what to pass to those tools, and what these tools return, so it can format the responses. All right. And for example, book flight will have, so if I copy this, right, so book flight will have the parameter as the PNR, or the flight ID, and again date, right? And it will retell success or error, right? So Let's just put them here. Let's make it bigger. Search flight and this, right? Right. So, and these are basically our tools. All right. So now what basically happen is that it calls these tools, and that is the beauty of agentic AI application, that they are very simple, just like a normal, app. They have the same kind of like components. For example, if you look at the tool, it's kind of like similar. The only difference between normal and agentic AI application is that you don't have to call the tools directly. You are giving that to an agent, and agent makes the decision when to call the tools, right? So when you say like, I want to go to Japan in the first week of April, please book a ticket for me, agent goes to LLMs figure out all these location dates and that you have to book the tickets. Everything goes back to the agent, and then agent goes and see like what tools are available at its arsenal, and it will go look at those tools. So for example, search the flight for Japan on the first week of April. So it will basically call the search flight autonomously. You don't have to like tell agent that call this tool, right? So agent makes the decision on itself, and then it will go search the flight, pass the parameter down, and it will return a list of flights, right? And then the same thing, once it has like list of flight, then it can maybe message back to the user, and then user can say, right, like with the list of flights, right? And it will say, you asked me to book the flight, there are there are like 12 flights, right? Now which one you want to basically choose, and then I'll say, oh, the second one sounds good. Right now, age like with from this list of flights, agent know which one is the second one. It basically takes the let's say we have this list of flights, right? From this, agent will basically, we have this list of flights going to the agent, and now what agent will do is basically pass that to the book flight, that this is the second flight that user chose. So now it will go like PNR flight, and it already know the date. It sends that to the book flight. Book flight will do its thing, whatever the same thing it will be doing in a normal application, updating the database and all that, booking the flight, and then just return a success and error, and that will be basically sent back to the user, right? So to clear all of this down, let's create another section here, which is agentic AI flow. So the first thing is a query, right? So same query which I have here, right? And then after the query, it is the agent. The queries goes to an agent, right? Agent sends that to an LLM, which is the brain. It understand, this is the natural language, this is what user want to accomplish, right? And then sends back all that information to agent. Then agent calls uh, tools, right? Depending on whatever user want to do, and then report back, and then tools basically send data back to agents, and then agent can also choose to call other tools, right? So it basically receive the data back here, right? So it can basically say, let's say calls another tool. So let's say book flight, right? And then, book flight will do its thing and then report back to the agent, right? And this is basically how AI agents work internally. The reason I wanted to create this video is to make it simple enough for everybody to understand how AI agents work internally. So the only difference between a normal and agentic AI app is that instead of calling the tools, which are like our endpoints or our functions, manually, we are giving the AI the ability to do it. So we are just telling agents that, oh, this is these are the tools at your disposal. You can use them however you want, and giving it a brain using LLM, and then agent uses LLM to basically decode the natural language and then use tools to take actions on the behalf of the. I also have another video where I actually show you how you can create your own AI agent using Node.js and in JavaScript. So I strongly recommend that you go and check that video out. I will link that in the description. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And I hope I'll see you in the next video.